Well, hello and welcome back to another video of the Building Investors YouTube channel. We're going to be learning how to orange peel texture today. So if you clicked on the title on the video because you want to learn how to orange peel texture, you are in the right place. I will talk about other things as well, but mostly we're going to be orange peel texturing today. So basically what that is, if you don't know, it's the texture on the walls. If you imagine an orange, like the fruit you eat on the outside has that texture, that bumpy texture. It looks exactly like that on the wall. I'll show you a close up here in a minute of that. But the tools you're going to need to get started with, at least the way I'm doing it. So I'm not doing an entire house, so I don't need this big industrial pump and gun and sprayer and all that stuff. That would be nice, but I don't need that. So today we're going to be using a regular Home Depot special hopper sprayer. I think these are like $100. So you can buy these. These are adjustable. You can interchange the tips depending on what texture you want to spray. Today we're spraying orange peel, of course. And so it's got the orange peel tip in there, but I think it has 3 other ones. Like you can use, I think there's a popcorn ceiling texture tip in there. And there's a little globbier of one that you can use as well. And then on this gun, while we're talking about it, there's a few adjustments on it. There's how much air you can let go through the gun. So it will, you can make it more globby or less globby, really fine. It also depends on what your mixture is in here as well. But this is the gun, basically air hose handle, that's it. So fill in the top here and it sprays out the gun right here. The other tools you're going to need is a drill of sorts. You can use a cordless one if you have a nice one like this, or you can use a corded drill. You can mix it by hand if you're really feeling the churn, but I would recommend using a drill if possible. So also get a paddle bit of sorts. This one will help mix the mud. So we're going to get this, put it in this, and then we're going to be using all-purpose mud today, which is in this right here. This is just kind of the beginner special, so you can use other stuff. This one will get you started. This one's already pre-mixed to be usable for mudding walls, but we're going to thin this down using some water, which I have in a spare bucket right here. And the good thing about having a spare bucket with water in it is not only can you pour the water in there to mix it to make it thinner, you can take this paddle bit when you're done mixing, which will be all covered in mud. You can stick your drill in that inside the bucket of water, and it won't get all dried out on you. Also, on the table here, I have some WD-40. This is good to have for when you're done spraying and you've cleaned your gun, because since the mud is all moisture and nasty and everything else is metal, if it sits, it'll rust and you won't be able to use it again after you're done. So after you're done cleaning it, I would recommend using a hose with a sprayer is best, but you can also use a bucket of water and a scrubber, but usually it's nice just to use a hose and spray it all off. And then when you're done, you can take the tip off and you can spray the WD-40 inside here, inside the gun. That way all the moisture won't sit there and then rust and the gun won't be usable anymore. So attached to this is a hose, and on the other side of the hose is an air compressor. I don't know if I need to show you what an air compressor looks like, so I'm sure you know what that is. If not, leave in the comments and I'll show you what an air compressor looks like. But anyways, I just have a small trim compressor. You can get a bigger one. The only problem with the small air compressors, you have to let it build up pressure every once in a while if you're spraying for a long time. Mine does fine. It's only like a 2.5 gallon tank, but it does just fine. You just have to let it catch up every once in a while. Not a big deal. So let's show you a close-up of orange peel texture and what we're going to do, and then start mixing. I'll show you how to do that before we spray. So orange peel texture. Now this is going to be a wild ride here because you're going to see like this ugly stuff right here. This was done probably by a can, like someone has a can and they shake it up and spray it on. It works for small stuff, but it never looks the best. And then over here, you're gonna see more of a normal orange peel texture. See, it's a little thick there, but thinner in the middle. It'd be nice if we could just make that nice and clean all the way across. But what we're focusing on today is fixing all these cracks. This is a modular building, and so it came in 2 separate parts. And so there's a lot of cracks when they moved the building. And so we've come back through and then cut open the cracks, put in new mud, new tape, and done all the joints and everything. That way it's all nice and clean again. And then we're gonna come back and texture around those. And then we built this closet here. We're gonna be texturing that as well. But that's what orange peel texture looks like. And that's what we're gonna try to match. We're gonna try to make it look as similar to this as possible. Of course, this is flat, this is textured. We're gonna try to make that orange peel texture. So we've got everything taped off. You can leave everything untaped and then come back through with a sponge and clean it, but it's just a pain. So I've gone around and taped off everything with some masking tape and some paper. Just anywhere that I'm gonna be spraying that I don't want to clean later, I'll be spraying up around the top of that door, so I just taped around that. Breaker panel, a little heater there, a little speaker, things that you don't want to be sprayed, just tape it off real quick. It'll save you time in the long run and make it a lot easier. So let's get to mixing this. This is the bucket of mud I was talking about. So it's about half full, a little less than half full. And then the bucket of water, I'm gonna take some of this water, dump it in there. I'm gonna mix it up until it's like a nice pancake batter consistency. We don't want it thick, we don't want it super thin, but we can deal with it somewhere in between there. So we want it to be able to pour, but we don't want it to be like just water, because then it'll just leave tiny little texture on the wall. So let's take our drill, put in our paddle bit here, tighten it down. I usually just use speed 1. You can use speed 2 if you want to, but speed 1's a lot more controllable. We'll take the bucket of mud and then we'll pour some water in it. Just a little bit to get started. You could probably look up online exactly how much water per whatever the consistency, but when you've done it for a while, you can kind of just eyeball it and make it work. You can also change the air pressure on the gun so it can spray a little harder to accommodate for thicker mud. So anyways, let me mix this and I'll show you what I'm going for. Okay, now once you have it mixed, you can take your paddle, which has mud on it. You can take the drill off if you want to because it's top heavy. Stick it in the bucket of water, buttocks of water, whatever I was trying to say there, I'm not sure. Didn't sound right. The bucket of water. And so then you're going to get consistency of this. I'll give you a close up. Which is like a thin pancake batter. So you see how it'll move around, but it's not like super thick, but it's not also like water to where it's just like flopping around like willy-nilly and all that stuff. So now that we've got this mixed, we'll probably want to put on a respirator or a mask of sorts, because even though it's all been cleaned and vacuumed, it'll still be really dusty when we go to spray. So we'll stick this on when we're ready to spray, but we're going to fill this up with mud. This will get heavy, so do what you can. I usually fill it up to about there, because when you're filling it full, if you're trying to spray on the ceiling, it'll roll off the top on top of you, and you don't want that. So anyways, let's pour some of this in here. I can just stick it between my legs unless you have a helper. Pour it in, and then you can use the lid of the thing to wipe it off like this, so it doesn't stick on the ground. And you have your bucket down there, and you have your hopper up here. You want to make sure that this is tightened as well, so you don't separate the gun from the hopper, and then you have a big mess. So anyways, let's put you in a position here where you can watch me spray, and we'll spray some texture and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, I'm going to start with my texture. Volume of air here coming out is about max, that way I can always turn it down. But if I start with it low and it comes out globby, I'll have to come back and clean it up and then spray again. So start with it as high as you want, or high as you can, and then turn it down to where you're going to be where you want it. So let's start with the highest and then just spray. We're just going to spray with a passing texture like this, and then we'll mix it up with going up and down. That way we don't get those lines I was talking about over here where it's thick, thin, thick. So let's see what it'll do. So air compressor's on. We got about 120 PSI coming from the air compressor, so that's nice and plenty. Then we've got it turned up here, and then all we gotta do is pull the trigger, and you pull it back, you'll get a little bit of air. If you pull it all the way back, it's kind of like a spray gun when you paint. When you do a pass, you spray, you let off the trigger, and then you pull again. Because if you do a start and then keep spraying, both when you get to the end of your spray and you're still holding down, it'll be twice as thick where you stop. Even though you're moving fast, it'll still double up. So when you get to the end, you want to let off, and then pull again, let off when you get to this side, pull again, let off. It'll make sense when you try it yourself, but if you hold the trigger down and just spray, it'll get thick in some spots. So anyways, let's try spray it and see how it looks. And the first patch section is done. So I've been chewing ice and it's numbed my tongue, so my pronunciations are a little off. But anyways, as you can see, texture has been sprayed. And what we've done is we've sprayed not only the area that we fixed, but we've feathered it out into the areas that have already been sprayed. That way it will blend in nicely. Because if you didn't blend it in, it would just, when you paint it, it would just look like a T right there. So anyways, that looks nice. And another tip when you're done, if you need to take a break, If you want to set the gun down, just take the air hose off, stick it down, and it'll hold itself up. I'm sure they sell stands to stick this on too, but I've never actually used one. Usually you just spray start to finish and you clean the gun. So anyways, there is that. All the texture is done on that section. Now we just have to do the rest of the room. So we'll see what we can get done. Obviously that's not gonna be enough mud, so I'll have to mix some more, but we'll get her done. And I'll bring you back as soon as we're finished and show you the outcome and then show you how to clean the tools. Okay, as far as cleaning goes, we've got everything finished on the inside. I'll show you here in a bit. This is all easily cleaned with water. So even though it's on my clothes and my hair, not a big deal. It's pretty much just lime dust is from my understanding. So I'm just gonna hook up this hose here, turn on the water, spray out the inside of this, spray out my paddle, and that's about it. So let's do that real quick. After you get it all rinsed and washed out, you take your air hose, which is right over here, hook it back up to your gun, and just use it to use the air to blow out the. Anyways, once you get it washed, you can use the air to blow your gun, get rid of all that extra water, and you come back here with your WD-40. Once it's dry, spray it on the inside, take the top off of this, spray it in there, you'll be good to go. But I'm gonna let it air dry a little bit longer before we do that. And yeah, let me show you around and show what we got done, and then maybe give you some pointers that I thought of while I was spraying. Okay, we finished off with this side of the room over here. So textured this, textured that. Of course, let me give you a little close up. It looks kind of gnarly and ugly, but once it dries and you paint over it, it's gonna look pretty good. So I ended up having to use another mud besides the all-purpose because I ran out of the all-purpose. And so I used some 40-minute mud that I had left over from another project. That's just powder. You stick it in the bucket and mix it with water, mix it real thin. The only problem I've had with mixing fast dry mud, or hot mud they call it, is you end up with these little skin tags all over the place. So that's not terrible. Once it dries, I'll come back through with my drywall tool and I'll just scrape those little skin tags off, and then we'll paint and we'll be done. But there are lots of them. So if you can get away with using a mud that doesn't do that, that would be better. But overall, I'm excited and I can't wait to paint it. Hopefully you actually start painting this evening once it dries, especially that 40-minute mud, it'll be done quick. So anyways, that is that. Thanks again very much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to share this video and all my other videos to all your friends. You need to get those view hours watched, that way we can get monetized. We're still a non-monetized channel. I know it's an awesome channel, but not monetized yet. We've got like 3,300 hours of view time that we need to left. So if you wouldn't mind watching another video or letting it play on your phone, that would be tremendous. Also, we have met the subscriber mark. We are almost getting close to 4,000 subscribers, which is great. One day we'll laugh at the 4,000 number, but right now I'm pretty stoked and excited about that number. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Leave a comment down in the comments below so I know you're watching. Don't forget to look in the description. Anyways, we'll catch you later. Have a good one. God bless. Ready to go, Copper? Let's go.